Welcome to the Cowboys Versus Ninjas podcast. You guys sent in some really interesting flash fiction this time around, and today we are jumping into two stories that really grabbed our attention. Seriously, get ready for legendary gunslingers, crazy escapes, ancient mysteries, and these awesome showdowns where cowboys, ninja, and even a resurrected pharaoh, cross paths.
Sounds like a wild ride. I'm ready.
Oh, it is. It is. First, we're heading to the Old West with the last ride. Okay, picture this. Lincoln County, New Mexico, 1881. Sheriff Elias Crow. This guy, he's known for being tough as nails, right? He just did the impossible, captured Billy the Kid.
Wow, Billy the Kid, that's a name that echoes through history.
Right. You'd think that'd be the end of it. Case closed, right?
Yeah.
But this is flash fiction, so hold on tight. We'll be looking at how Billy pulls off this impossible escape after Crow brings him in, and it kicks off this super dangerous manhunt across the frontier, and it gets even more intense because of the message Billy leaves behind.
We're already hooked.
Yeah, you and me both. Then get ready for a total genre mashup with the Gunslinger and the Pharaoh's Shadow. We're ditching the dusty plains for, get this, the scorching sands of Egypt in 1882. A wandering cowboy named Samuel Gray of Callahan, tough luck in a Cairo poker game, stumbles into, wait for it, a hidden temple.
Hold on. A cowboy in Egypt? That's a twist.
Right. Forget your typical Western shootout. This is a full-on battle against, get this, an awakened pharaoh, Neferah and his army of mummified warriors. And there's more. An ancient ninja clan, the Kurukaj, is right in the thick of it.
Okay, now you've got my attention.
We're going to explore how Callahan ends up in this crazy ancient conflict and, the moment that Pharaoh of Shadows rises.
I can't wait to break it down.
Today, our goal is to get to the heart of these stories, the high stakes, those characters that jump off the page, and those twists that make flash fiction so addictive, right?
Yeah.
We want to give you a taste of what makes these stories so awesome, almost like you're living them yourself.
Like a shortcut to these action-packed worlds.
Yeah.
Love it.
Exactly. Okay, let's start with the grit, then we'll hit the supernatural. Let's jump right into the last ride. Right into Sheriff Elias Crow's big win. The story you sent, he actually captures Billy the Kid. What was your first reaction?
It was like seeing a classic Western scene play out. Crow's this legend, The sources really play up his reputation, and the town goes wild when Billy gets caught. They're planning the hanging for 1881.
Oh, yeah. Total sense of, justice is coming,
Yeah, exactly. You think, that's it, Billy's done for. But, you pointed out, this is flash fiction.
And that expectation of justice, it kind of gets flicked on its head. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. The capture feels like, the end of a typical Western. But in flash fiction, it's just the start, like a spark that ignites a much bigger conflict.
It makes you think, even when it seems like good guys win, it might just be the beginning of something a lot more complicated.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a great hook to draw the reader in.
And things definitely get messy. The night before Billy's hanging, the jail, it's a bloodbath. 2 deputies are dead, Billy's gone. When you read that, did you imagine a new gang busted him out? Or was it more like he was making a run for Fort Sumner to rally his buddies for a final stand?
That question, it really highlights how good flash fiction can be so ambiguous, right? A new gang, it means Billy's threat's just getting bigger, right? But Fort Sumner, that suggests something more strategic, more desperate maybe.
Right.
Both options are interesting. They make you wonder about what Billy's got up his sleeve and where he's going, and they really pull you into Crow's situation.
Totally. And the whole chase gets so personal. It's not just an escaped criminal anymore. The message Billy leaves, "See you soon, old man," carved into a deputy. It changes everything. What's your take on that? What does it tell you about Crow and Billy's relationship, their past maybe? It's way more than just lawman versus outlaw now.
Oh, yeah. It is that little detail. It tells you so much, right? Such a powerful way to build character using just a few words. I mean, old man, it suggests the history between them, a connection.
Right.
It makes you think maybe there's a shared past, maybe even a betrayal that drives Billy's vendetta.
Yeah.
It's like there's this emotional undercurrent to what could have been a pretty straightforward manhunt.
Totally. Crow's journey to find Billy, it takes him through some seriously dangerous places. We're talking about a ghost town where, anyone wearing a badge is a target. There's this sketchy offer from an old enemy at a hideout on the Mexican border, information on Billy's whereabouts in exchange for Crow breaking a solemn vow. Then there's a brutal train robbery, they're after federal gold, and finally Crow sees Lincoln, his town, in flames. How do these escalating encounters, how do they show us how high the stakes are getting for Crow? And how do they give us a sense of just how much chaos Billy's causing, how much influence he has?
It's like each location throws a new danger at Crow.
Right.
Each stop shows us how desperate things are getting, how far Billy's reach extends.
Yeah.
And burning Lincoln, that's just brutal. It's a total collapse of law and order, a direct attack on everything Crow stands for.
And then there's this twist. Crow realizes Billy wants him to come to Fort Sumner. It's not about running or revenge, at least not entirely. It's about something they share, something in their past. What kind of tension does that build as Crow's closing in on that final showdown?
It adds a whole layer of, like, psychological suspense, right?
Right.
Billy's not just reacting, he's playing a game. And we know he's gathering a serious force, a Gatling gun even. He wants to be a bigger legend than Jesse James. Like, this ambition is twisting him, you know.
Totally. You get that sense, yeah.
It makes you wonder what he's planning, what part Crow plays in all of it.
The showdown at Fort Sumner, it's pure chaos. Bullets flying everywhere. But Crow's not alone. An Apache tracker joins him, an ex-bounty hunter, and a deputy who somehow survived Billy's jailbreak. What do you think this unlikely team tells us about Crow? What does it say about the kind of threat Billy poses, that these guys are all willing to stand against him?
It shows that even though Crow's been chasing Billy alone, he's earned some respect along the way, maybe even inspired some loyalty. These guys, they're all different. They all have their reasons for being there, but they all see how dangerous Billy is, and they see something in Crow, maybe hope, maybe just a chance to stop the chaos.
Makes sense, yeah. And then there's the real twist, the real gut punch of the story. Billy set this whole thing up not for revenge, but for, well, it's like a messed up kind of redemption. He wanted Crow to find out the truth about this powerful rancher, Isaac Durant, who's been using Billy's reputation to cover up his own criminal empire. It's a huge twist. What's your take on Billy dying before Crow fully understands what's going on? And how does that change Crow's mission? It's like everything's different now.
That's what makes this story so good, so different. It turns the whole idea of a Western on its head, you know. Billy the Kid, the outlaw. He becomes like this unlikely hero, exposing this huge network of corruption. And him dying before he can explain everything, it's tragic. It puts this huge weight on Crow's shoulders. It's not about catching a criminal anymore. It's about taking on something much bigger, much more powerful. It shows that justice, it's not always simple. It's not always black and white.
Okay, so we've gone from dusty trails to, well, let's switch gears completely and enter this crazy world of the Gunslinger and the Pharaoh's shadow. Imagine Samuel Grave Callahan, our cowboy. He's lost in the Egyptian desert. It's 1882, and it's all thanks to a bad poker game in Cairo. What was your first thought when you saw a cowboy in, ancient Egypt? It's not your typical setting, real.
It's so unexpected, right? It throws you off balance, which is exactly what good flash fiction should do, a cowboy in ancient Egypt. It's just begging for a crazy adventure. And the source material mentions Callahan's a drifter, more at home with his gun than with a map. He's not tied down, so he's maybe a little more suited to being dropped into a totally new world.
Yeah, it's like he's ready for anything, even ancient Egypt.
Exactly.
So Callahan, he finds a buried temple. At first, it seems like a good thing, maybe shelter, right? But no, it drags him into this ancient conflict. Inside the temple, he meets the Kurokaje. They're a ninja clan, been in exile from Japan for centuries. Their mission? To stop Nephara, the Pharaoh of Shadows, from waking up. I mean, what kind of tension do you think happens when you throw a cowboy and a ninja clan together in a forgotten temple?
The tension's there right away.
Yeah.
Right. You've got Callahan. He's all about practicality, gunslinger mentality.
Yeah.
And then you have the ninja, where there's centuries of tradition and mysticism.
All right. Total clash of styles.
And they're both up against this world-ending threat. They have to figure each other out fast, and that creates this really cool dynamic.
It turns out the temple, it's a trap set by the Sons of Anubis, a cult that wants to bring Nephara back. Callahan stumbling in, it kicks off the ritual. Can you picture it? An undead pharaoh and his army of mummies rising from the dead. What kind of images come to mind? The sources talk about cursed linen and these golden blades.
It's like something out of a nightmare. Dust swirling, mummies lurching up, their movements all jerky and unnatural, and that glint of gold in the darkness, those cursed blades.
Yeah.
It's so much more than just a regular gunfight, more than anything Callahan's used to. It's a whole different level of threat.
And that brings us to the fighting styles. Callahan's revolver, his trusty weapon, it's useless against the mummies. This is where things get really interesting. The cowboy and the ninja, they have to team up. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, the source mentions Callahan actually firing his gun, and the bullets, they just pass right through the mummies.
It's like the story's telling us, hey, the old ways don't work here. Callahan has to think differently.
He does. And this unlikely team, the cowboy and the ninja, it shows that sometimes you need to combine different skills, different ways of thinking to survive against the unknown.
The final battle, it happens in the Tomb of Shadows. We learn Callahan has these special bullets, dipped in sacred oil, his last hope. Lady Hoshiko, she's the leader of the Kurokai. She's got this legendary katana, the Shadow Fang, that can cut through spirits. And Neferah, the Pharaoh, he can control the sand itself. How do these details make the final battle even more intense?
It's like each detail adds another layer of strategy, another layer of danger. Callahan's special bullets, they're the only thing that can hurt the mummies, but he doesn't have many, so every shot counts.
Yeah, it's down to the wire.
Then you have the Shadow Fang katana, a weapon specifically designed to fight something like Neferah. And the Pharaoh controlling the sand, it means the environment itself is against them. Every step could be a trap.
It's a fight on so many levels.
Exactly.
The description really highlights how impossible this all seems. A cowboy and a ninja against a god, with the temple falling apart around them. It's like a race against time, and the odds are so stacked against them. And then there's that line at the end, kill a god before dawn. It just sums up everything, doesn't it?
Oh, it totally does. It tells you how enormous their task is, and it adds that ticking clock element. They're not just fighting a god, they're fighting time itself. And the collapsing tomb, it makes it clear that every second counts.
So looking at these two stories, what are the big takeaways? We went from a classic Western to like ancient Egypt with cowboys and ninja. What stands out for you? What's the common thread?
For me, it's the theme of facing impossible odds, no matter the setting. In The Last Ride, it's about a personal quest for justice, uncovering the truth even when it's hidden. And in The Gunslinger and the Pharaoh's Shadow, it's about survival, adapting to the unknown, and realizing that sometimes you need to team up with someone completely different from you to survive.
And those contrasts, the realism of the West versus the pure fantasy of ancient Egypt, a cowboy against an outlaw versus a cowboy and a ninja against a pharaoh. It's a lot to think about.
It is. But in both stories, the characters are pushed to their absolute limits. In The Last Ride, justice turns into something bigger, something more complicated than just catching the bad guy. And in the Egyptian story, it's all about survival, working together to defeat something way more powerful than they are.
It raises the question, what kind of stories really grab us? The ones that dig deep into something familiar, or the ones that take us to completely new worlds?
It's a great question. And maybe it's a bit of both, Maybe the best stories, the ones that stick with us, they combine the familiar with the unexpected.
That makes sense.
They remind us that even in the face of impossible challenges, there's always a chance for courage, for resourcefulness, for finding strength we didn't know we had.
I like that. And in both of these stories, the characters find that strength, even if it means teaming up with someone you'd never expect.
Exactly. It's like these stories are saying, hey, sometimes the people you think are your enemies might surprise you.
We hope this exploration has, got your imaginations fired up. We want to thank you for sending in these awesome stories. Which one stuck with you the most? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Rate and follow the Cowboys Versus Ninjas podcast for more awesome adventures.